Hello, my name is Lars Thom, and my company Beijing Postcards is specialized in researching the history of Beijing. This year is the 25th anniversary of the establishment of the German Chamber of Commerce in China. The German Chamber has asked us to look into early business relations between China and Germany before the Chamber was established in Beijing. These last 2 years, it has been difficult to travel between Germany and China, and the Chamber has had to act as a kind of travel agency, almost. But maybe it is worth remembering that in 1926, Lufthansa opened the first direct route between Berlin and Beijing. It was a tremendous achievement. Today, a lot of people, they are complaining about the hassle when you're traveling between Europe and China. But back then, when the airplane left Berlin, it would have to land 10 times before it reached its end destination. And the ticket price was between 600 and 800 silver dollars. An amount of money that converted to today's currencies was absolutely astronomical. Let's go look for early traces of Chinese-German collaboration. We started off talking about transportation, and that is because this is one of the areas where a German company early on leaves a trace in Beijing history. Because in 1899, Siemens opened the first tram in Beijing history. However, this tram was only operational for half a year. But when a more extensive tram network was established in 1924, it was actually also a German that made the city plan accommodating the tram. He was called Kurt Rothkiel, and the redesign of the Tianmen area was not the only project to land on his desk. In fact, the first presidential residence inside of the Dongnanhai and the first parliaments of the capital were all designed by him. The new design he made of Tianmen would become a symbol of Republican Beijing, used in advertisements in newspapers and magazines. And even today, if you go in and buy a package of cigarettes, you can find the dark Tianmen brand. One of the reasons that the Tianmen Gate became such a symbol during the Republican period was that the train station opened just down here. That meant that when you got off the train, the first thing you would see was the Tianmen Gate. When the Tianmen train station became operational, you only had one hotel that was Western owned in the city of Beijing. The foreigners, they called it Hotel du Nord, but the Chinese labeled it Doro Fanlian because it was indeed owned by a German. The German hotel was especially known for the Bavarian beer that it served. And the world famous Beijing author Lao Tzu, he said about this special kind of German hospitality that luckily did the Germans not only produce good beer, they also invented the drug aspirin for the day after. The place where we are walking now, inside the old legation quarter, was kind of a small German community center. Behind us, you have the old German hospital, a hospital that still exists today under the name Beijing Yuan, or the Beijing Hospital. It was also in here that we find the German photo studio Hartungs. The world famous photographer Hedda Morrison She worked here for 5 years, and it was also at the Hartong's photo studio that a picture that is today extremely famous of a young Mao Zedong was developed in the 1930s. Talking about that, it's interesting how many prominent Chinese of New China that would find their way to Germany in the 1920s and the 1930s. Zhu De, Zhou Enlai, and Sun Qingling all stayed years in Germany studying. Here it is especially interesting to talk about Zhu De, because in the 1950s, when the 798 factory complex was constructed, he was at the inauguration. Today, the factory complex has been closed down. It has been transformed into the beating heart of cultural Beijing, and it is also where we find the German Cultural Center, the Goethe Institute, here behind me. But when we talk about the heart of Chinese-German commercial cooperation, then there is no doubt that that is where I am standing right now. The German Chamber of Commerce opened 25 years ago over here at the landmark office towers. But 5 years before that, the first and only Lufthansa Center opened right here in 1992. It was the Chinese government itself that pointed to this area and said, this is from where Beijing will develop. And today, when you look around, it is a little bit difficult to believe that 30 years ago, all of this was farmland. And even today, this place is still the center of Chinese-German business cooperation. Just next to me, you can find the German school, and next to that again, we find the Grand Summit, the new location of the German Chamber of Commerce in China.